This will be an experiment, so we're all going to have to, and make sure that you give us time to hear before you speak again because it gets cut. Okay, Teresa's outside. Ashley is in here. And Nick is here with me. So with that, Louis, do you want to go ahead and make a statement for the records?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Madam President, I just wanted to note that we're conducting this meeting by telephonic and other electronic means based on your declaration that it's not practical or prudent for us to have an in-person meeting as we normally would. It's important that we make sure that we can all hear each other as we speak, and I think it's a good idea to identify yourself as you speak. And all votes that we take today by the board must be done by roll call.
Okay, anybody have any questions on that? And also then for the record that there's a possible of up to 10 people that would be on the telephone line. We would ask if there's that many for any reason that after they make a statement that they would hang up so somebody else could come on. I don't expect that, but if it happens, we'll have a process. So right now, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order, and the roll call will be verbal. So let's just go ahead and start. Waller, present?
Present.
Wynant?
Present.
Bradley?
Present.
Wageman?
Present.
Kreiner here. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and set the agenda. Any additions or changes to the agenda today?
Administrator Tomchak, we have no adjustments, staff.
Okay, we'll need a motion then.
Madam President, this is Manager Bradley. I move that we accept the agenda as provided.
Manager Wageman, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Again, we have to do roll call. Waller?
Yes.
Wynant?
Yes.
Bradley?
Yes.
Wageman?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Okay, Kreiner, yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go to the approval of the minutes. We'll need a motion.
This is Manager Wageman. I move to approve the March 9th, 2020 workshop minutes.
Second, Bradley.
Seconded by Bradley.
Madam President, this is Louis Smith.
Yes.
Could I just offer one suggestion at line 77, which is the point of the workshop in which the board determined to go into closed session?
Okay.
I'd recommend after the words "into a closed session," inserting the following language. I'll give everyone a minute to get there.
Okay, 77 or you said?
Line 77.
Okay, go ahead.
So the language I'd suggested inserting is for the purpose of receiving confidential legal advice on strategy concerning Morell's claim, and then continue on related to. This would just document that the board was meeting the legal requirement of closing the meeting based on attorney-client privilege, where the Supreme Court has said this needs to be about active litigation strategy.
Bradley, good addition.
Okay, Steve? Second that again?
Yeah, I move to approve the March 19th, 2020
Steve.
workshop minutes as amended.
As amended, okay.
And Bradley seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So we'll roll call. Waller?
I wasn't at the meeting, so I'm not able to vote. Thank you.
Abstain? Wynant?
Aye.
Bradley?
Aye.
Wageman?
Aye.
And Kreiner, aye. Okay, March 9th, Ramsey County Ditch Record Correction Public Hearing Minutes.
Madam President, this is
Um,
I need approval of minutes of the Ramsey County Ditch 11 record.
Marcy, you need to face your camera when you talk.
Oh, sorry.
And everybody be careful on moving papers around, please. Okay, so we have Marcy for first, Bradley second.
Yes, Bradley seconds.
Okay. Roll call, Waller,
Yes,
Wynant,
Aye.
Bradley,
Yes,
Wagaman. Steve, Wagaman,
Yes,
and Prainer, yes. Motion passes.
yes.
Okay, the March 11th, 2020 regular minutes.
Madam President, I move to, pardon? This is Manager Wagaman. I move to approve the March 11th, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
second by Bradley.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, Waller,
yes,
Wynant,
Aye.
Bradley,
Yes,
Wagaman,
Yes.
and Prainer, yes. Motion passes. Okay, we're through the approval. The consent agenda.
President Reiner, Board of Managers, staff does have two additions for one of the permit applications. It would be 19102. Starts on page 35 of your packet.
Did everybody hear that? Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
So the first one would be a new number 4 addition for compliance items. This is regarding the stormwater declaration. We would insert the typical language. I can read it here now. The applicant must submit a draft declaration for maintenance of stormwater management facilities acceptable to the district for proposed on-site stormwater management and pretreatment features. I know that was kind of quick, but.
any questions? Okay,
And the second, it's also
I do have
19102.
questions.
Oh,
sorry.
hold on.
Go ahead. I
Who's-
apologize. Go ahead. I'll do it when you're done.
Okay, go ahead, Patrick.
Okay. And the second, it's also for 19102 at the end of finding number 1. That's the description of the project. We would add a new sentence at the end, 2 sentences at the end, I'm sorry. The project did not include a wetland exemption, but rather a no-loss application. No fees are charged for no-loss applications, and the district will refund the applicant $250.
Okay, everybody hear that? Patrick, anything else?
That's it for me.
Okay, that was both on the same one, 19102.
Correct.
Okay, with that, we have consent agenda. We need a motion.
You want to take Steve's question first, or you want to do?
Oh,
this?
I guess I missed it. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I had just 3 on these. I had 3 quick questions. On page 31, under findings number 2, where they show the pretreatment, I'm just wondering what a forebay is.
Patrick? Did you hear that, Patrick?
I did. I'm sorry. Just kind of looking through it here. It is a means of pre-treatment. For actual specifics, I guess if someone from Houston would want to chime in, I think Chris is here on the call.
Sure, Madam President, Manager Wagaman. A forebay is actually like a mini depression that is put in ahead of a pond to allow kind of the large settlement to drop out. And it also it creates basically an area where you anticipate doing more frequent dredging in the pond, because that's where the biggest amount of sediment is going to drop out. So you try to create this area that does kind of the biggest part of the work there in terms of collecting sediment, and then the larger part of the pond usually then will collect more of the fine sediment. But essentially, it is just a very small portion of the pond that's kind of set off from itself that helps with that initial treatment.
Okay, thank you very much. And then on page 37, it's actually the exact same question on that one. At the top under number 2, pre-treatment, it says rain guardian turret for pre-treatment. I don't know what that is either.
Manager Wigman, that is a proprietary device that was developed by the Anoka Conservation District. That is, it's something that's set into the curb line that it's constructed out of concrete, and the water comes into it, and essentially it allows the sediment to drop out before it actually goes on further down the line, but it's set right off of the curb. And it's kind of a unique thing because the Anoka Conservation District actually developed these things, created an idea for them, and is now essentially selling them.
Interesting.
Okay. And then the very last one was page 43, the exact same question again. Sorry, this came up on the one we're on conference. I normally don't have all these questions, but same thing on number 2 on page 43, the pre-treatment, it says a sump in a CBMH30 and oil separator. I'm wondering what a CBMH30 is.
Yeah, that stands for catch basin manhole. So it essentially is the name of the specific name of that manhole that they put in there. When we're putting together plans, we often name the manholes and identify them with a number, just so that we can readily identify which one is which when we're, talking with a contractor or, communicating with others. So that just happened to be the actual name of that particular catch basin in those plans.
Thank you. That was all I had.
And Madam President, Bradley here. I have one question that's been answered to me by email, but I might as well get it on the record. On page 32, they're talking about under number 2, the last line, the distance between the low EOF, or the elevation of 906.4, the lowest building elevation of 908.7, and I'd been concerned that was less than 3 feet, and I'd asked whether or not that needed a variance. And Nick, you've answered that, but why don't you put that on the record?
Certainly, Board of Managers, the freeboard requirement in the district rules is 2 feet. And so this project does meet the freeboard. I will note there is a 3-foot reference in the regulations we have, and that is the distance between the bottom of a basin, an infiltration basin, and the groundwater table. So in this case, no variance required, freeboard is met.
Thank you, Nick. I'm easily confused, and that was my confusion.
Okay, then we need a motion, right? For the consent agenda, as corrected.
So, Madam President, I move that we conditionally approve pending receipt of changes 4 projects, 19-011, 19-102, 20-006, 20-007, with the amendments made by Patrick Hughes. And I guess that's it.
Madam President, this is Manager Wynan. I would second that motion.
Second.
Okay, we had a second by Manager Wynan. Any further discussion? There'll be a roll call. Waller?
Yes.
Wynan?
Yes.
Bradley?
Yes.
Wageman? Wageman?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. All right, let's go to the open mic. Is there anybody on the phone line that would like to speak at open mic? Anybody? Hearing none, we'll move forward. If somebody connects in, we can go back to that. Okay, items requiring board action. Nick.
Board of Managers, on the agenda today is Resolution 20-11. This is to adopt an interim meeting schedule and format. So this would amend your previous action and note the circumstance of the COVID-19 pandemic in that these meetings will now be held via this alternative means. This will streamline our, gets it on the record and hopefully streamlines so everyone knows the process that we're undertaking.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion for resolution 2020-11?
Madam
Madam
President,
President, this is Waller. I'll move a resolution 2020-11, resolution of the Rice Creek Watershed District Board of Managers adopting an interim meeting schedule and format. And that the meetings will therefore be it resolved that until determined by the board president is withdrawn, the regular meetings schedule should be modified to indicate that all meetings will be conducted by alternative means, teleconferencing or video teleconference from remote locations, and further, the meetings will occur under the conditions outlined in the statute sections of 103D.021, and further, members of the public interested in monitoring the meetings by telephone should contact Nick Tomzak at 763-398-3079 or by email preferred to ntomzak@ricecreek.org by 4:30 on the business day prior to the scheduled meeting to request an access number.
Madam President, this is Nick Tomchek. Just a note that the stated statute section was noted as 103. It's actually 13D.
Oh, sorry, Nick. I have to use my other glasses, I guess. Correct, it's 13D.021, Madam President.
Okay.
Madam President Bradley, I'll second that as corrected.
Okay, we have motion a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, Madam President, I have some discussion here.
Okay.
Ms. Waller. First of all, I would note that the telephone number is not being published on the website for the, as it was on our agenda today. So really, the public should have an opportunity to not only contact the administrator, but also if they wanted to contact, they should, I believe the telephone number and conference line and PIN number should be on the website with the agenda. Second, when we talked about this teleconferencing before, there were some questions that you had raised, Madam President, about having to be the only person that was at the Shoreview City Hall. Has that question been resolved, that we no longer have to have a board member, at least one board member at the general accepted meeting place where we've been, which is the Shoreview City Hall?
Let's have Nick answer that.
President Pryor, this is Nick Tomchek. I'll leave a majority of this to Lewis to chime in, but I'll note that there are limitations of our equipment. The conference line that is being utilized has a limit of 10, and the video displays only 4 people at a time. So in reference to your question about displaying the number, we were trying to keep track of the individuals that were calling in and to better know who might be present on the equipment, so it might be effectively managed. Beyond that, Lewis, I'll defer to you.
Thank you, Nick. This is Lewis. I would make 2 points. The first, I think Manager Waller was recalling our past discussions about conducting meetings by interactive television under normal circumstances. And that does include a requirement that at least one member of the board be present at the regular meeting location. We are operating under a separate provision of the open meeting law under conditions of a pandemic that's been declared. And that provision does have a requirement that at least one person be present at the regular meeting location unless it's been determined that that's not practical given or feasible given the health pandemic. So I think we certainly are under circumstances where that can be acknowledged.
President Preiner, this is Administrator Tomczak. I'll note that for clarity that it was posted at our regular site on the doors of the Shoreview City Hall, the notice regarding the board meeting and this alternative means.
This is President Preiner. Could I ask, is Shoreview closed then today? Are they closed to the public?
That is correct.
That is, so they are closed. Our site couldn't even be done. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yes. So it's on the exterior door.
Exterior door, so
Yeah.
nobody goes into this. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, Manager Waller?
Madam President, thank you very much, Mr. Smith, for that clarification. I believe that's an important to be on the record. And second, I still think it's important, even though you want to manage the number of people that are calling in, if there's someone who decided they wanted to attend the meeting at the very last minute after 4 p.m. in the evening or such, between the time the meeting starts, oftentimes they can come to the, open mic session and have their notice, and we never know about that in the past. But I realize you have 10 people, but nevertheless, I think that when a person does call in on the system, as I did today, you are asked to identify yourself, and at that time you'd know how many people you have in the queue or the lineup to have to handle and manage. So I still think it's important to publish the telephone number for purposes of the open mic. If someone decides they want to come to the meeting at the last minute or participate, and have that number available to them, otherwise they might not be able to.
I think that's a good idea, and we'll make sure it gets on there as soon as we doubt their meeting. We'll be ready to go. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, so now we're going to recess our regular meeting and reconvene the continued hearing on the.
So we have to have a vote on this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, we need roll call. Okay, we have motion and a second. Waller.
Yes.
Wynant.
Yes.
Bradley.
Yes.
Wageman.
Yes.
And Preiner, yes. Okay. Now we'll recess our regular meeting and reconvene the continued hearing on the Morrell petitioned repair of branch 1 of Anoka County Ditch 10-22-32. The board held the original hearing on this matter on December 12, 2019 and continued it on March 11, 2020. The hearing was further continued to today's meeting because the board received additional information for alternative damage analysis. The board is not prepared to take an action today in the continued hearing because we are still developing our findings in the proceedings. Therefore, I would entertain a motion to further continue the hearing date, time and location certain, preferably to the board's regular meeting on April 8th, at which continuing hearings we will consider findings in order to complete the proceedings. I'll need a motion.
Madam President, I would move that we continue our continuance until our next available board meeting, presumably April 8th, at which time we hopefully will take this matter up for findings.
Madam President, this is Wynant. I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Any further discussion? Okay, we'll call for a vote. Waller.
Yes.
Wynant.
Yes.
Bradley.
Yes.
Wageman.
Yes.
And I say yes. So we will move that. Thank you. Okay, so we'll reopen. Yeah, we'll reopen our regular meeting now, and we'll consider the response to city circle lines.
President Preiner, this is Administrator Tomczak. Within the packet, there is a draft letter to the City of Circle Pines City Council regarding their communication to the district by letter and email on how, well, I should say on sharing some input on the completion of the 5362 Anoka County ditch repair project that's currently being planned. This document is reflective of the comments that we had at the board workshop and was there for your consideration in the packet that's on page 58 and 59.
Anybody have any comments on that?
Madam President, I'd like to offer two minor, one a typo and another a correction or whatever. And the second paragraph, the last sentence reads, though the development of a repair report is still in progress, I would add the word to update you on our consideration of those comments.
Okay.
So that's just a typo, basically. And then in the next paragraph, the last sentence reads, the district recognizes the disruption that sequential construction projects may have on a community. And so the Board of Managers, I would like to remove provided concurrence and insert the simple word agrees. I'm a plain language kind of guy. So it suggests that we agree to schedule these repairs to coincide with their anticipated road reconstruction.
Any other comments or corrections to the letter?
Madam President, this
Yes.
is Waller. I think it's in the second to the last paragraph where they're talking about the sediment removal and the pond issue, pond stabilization. I realize that we don't have a very good system of how to clean out stormwater ponds. And so I'm wondering if this issue that's being raised by the Circle Pine City Council is an issue really of not so much of their stormwater ponds, but also maybe a logistical issue of the sediment having an impact on our stormwater rate and volume control and efficiency and capacity of the stormwater conveyance system itself. And in that case, we may have some responsibility if it has an impact on our system. I think that's something that's important to kind of take a look at. There may be some help we can provide here, and although maybe it's not all within our MS4 permit. Certainly if it affects our efficiency and our capacity of our drainage conveyance system, if it's a logistical issue then, and if it impacts the rate and volume control of how that system works, maybe we have some responsibility there. And so I'd ask to take a look to see if that is how that pond and those sediments in there are impacting the performance of the system. And I know it's just a little bit, but all these little bits everywhere along impact the capacity and how the logistics of the system works.
Okay, I'd like to hear from Nick, the administrator.
President Pryor, Board of Managers, I'm understanding John to reference the last paragraph titled downstream sediment removal, which is an impoundment that the city put on the Anoka County Ditch 5362 project. I would suspect, and I'll look to our engineer, Chris Otterness, to chime in, that the impoundment does not impact the capacity of the public drainage system in a detrimental way, and that the sediment that is collecting there is the result of the nature of an impoundment. That is the first location in which the waters widen out and the sediment falls out. But to the efficiency, maybe Mr. Otterness could address that.
Yes, Nick, and Madger Wall, you have a good point there that we certainly need to be concerned that any of that sediment would not be blocking the function, the capacity of the drainage system. And in fact, previously, District Inspector Schmidt, he has completed some maintenance work near where the outlet of the ditch is into that pond, just because it was starting to threaten the ability of the drainage system to convey its capacity in the way that it was intended to. However, what the city is asking for in this case is to be generally dredging pond sediment out of the pond itself, where that sediment really will have no impact on the conveyance capacity. Right now is more of a concern or an issue related to a water quality function and a pond capacity function, which again were completed by the city for their purposes, and they, the development of that pond agreed to complete that maintenance of it. So I don't see a need for the district in terms of being able to manage the drainage system to participate in clean out of the pond.
Madam President, this is
Yes.
Bradley. I can recall at least one and maybe two instances in which we've had requests to remove deltas that formed at the end of our conveyances, and we've declined to do so, indicating that once it leaves our ditch, the sediment is not our responsibility. So even if that were true, I think I would still be wanting to look at their obligation to maintain their pond.
Okay. Manager Waller, any comments?
Yes, Madam President, this is Waller, and again, this is a pond. It's really a stormwater pond, and so it does have, when it fills up with sediment, impacts on rate and volume control that goes into the system. In other words, the more sediment in the pond, the less rate and volume control the pond has on the overall system. And so capacity of the pond is it's designed as it meets the specifications of the district's rules, and it's mandated by the district to be done. Therefore, it is a part of the logistics of the stormwater conveyance system. And I think that it needs to, in order to make sure these things are done in the future, we don't have a consistent plan of how this goes. Some of these ponds are owned by or responsible to homeowners associations that do function, and some that homeowners associations that don't function, and some by the cities, and some have none. And so there's no standardized rule for how to maintain the capacity of these ponds, which are here to, which when they fill up with sediment, we lose the rate and volume control, which was the design was for, in order to maintain the entire conveyance system efficiency and capacity.
Okay, I'm going to ask.
That's why I look at it. This is a large problem that needs to be figured out how we're going to make sure that their maintenance on the entire systems that are mandated by the district are taken care of.
Okay, I'm going to ask Nick to respond, please.
President Preiner, board managers, specific to this case and the impoundment on ACD 5362, the pond does have a definitive responsibility that the city has accepted. And here, the district engineer has noted that the system does not impact the rating volume of the public drainage system.
Okay, so what we're really talking about here is the letter. Do we want to look into that further, or do we want to approve the letter moving forward?
I support approving the letter moving forward.
This is Manager Wagaman. I also support moving it forward.
Okay, that's motion and a second. Okay, so with that, any further discussion? Further discussion? Waller?
I would vote to move the letter forward, President Preiner, but as I said, this is an inconsistency that we have throughout the whole system, and it needs to be looked at further.
Thank you, John. Wynan?
Yes.
Bradley?
Yes.
Wagaman?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes, and we will take a look at that. Thank you, John, for your input. Okay, we're gonna adjourn. Let's see here. We're gonna recess our regular meeting and reconvene the continued hearing of the reestablishment of records for Ramsey County Ditch 11. This is a continuation of the final hearing on the reestablishment and correction of records for Ramsey County Ditch 11. The hearing was continued from March 9th, 2020 for the purpose of developing, reviewing, adopting a final order in the proceedings. A draft of the final order, Resolution 2020-10, is found at page 61 of your packets. And what would the board like to do? We'll need a motion if you want to move forward. Everybody? Yes.
This is Manager Wynett. I'm
Yes.
going to read the motion on page 64. Therefore, that following. Board of Managers hereby corrects the drainage system record of RCD 11 to reflect alignment, dimensions, and grade of the combined system as detailed in the engineer's historical review memorandum dated July 17, 2019, as amended on November 2019. At A, the drawings contained in the engineer's report addendum dated March 16, 2020, as attached as Exhibit B. The Board of Managers hereby vacate and abandon any remnant portions of RCD 11 not included in the functional alignment detailed in the historical review memorandum dated July 17, 2019, as amended.
Need a second?
Madam President, I'll second it, but I do have a question.
Okay.
In that paragraph B, that does not appear to be standard language, so it appears that we are in fact attempting to abandon probably branch 1. And my question is, since it's not just kind of boilerplate, it's actually trying to do something, should we take some effort to define what we are abandoning? And then a question to our attorney, does abandonment require more effort than this?
I can answer that, Madam President.
Sure.
First of all, we have done this in the past, just not on systems when Manager Bradley's been on the board. What we're trying to do is make very clear that what is being adopted is what is in and only in the engineer's final report as to the alignment. And in fact, there are and were identified some discrepancies between the alignment that they discovered and that they are recommending and what was in the original record. And so what we're just trying to do here is add some boilerplate, as Manager Bradley points out, in order to make the record incredibly clear if anyone comes back later and says, well, wait a minute, in a prior document, the alignment was shown here, but you're adopting there. What happened to that old alignment? And this order basically says we're recognizing the new based on the proceedings herein. If we want to do more detail on that, we certainly can. It is my opinion that it is unnecessary, given the fact that what you are reestablishing and adopting is what is contained in the engineer's report.
Further discussion?
Madam President, this is Waller. I would note that in the findings, item number 13, for example, is a definition of the detail that Attorney Kolb is speaking. One of the items. There are others, but that gives the definition as to where it ends, the drainage area ends.
Further discussion? If not, we have a motion and a second. We're going to call for a vote. Waller.
Yes.
Wynant.
Yes.
Bradley.
Yes.
Wageman.
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Okay, so we will close the hearing and move on to our regular agenda.
Madam President, John Kolb, if I may, I don't think there's anything left on the agenda that I need to be present for. I will stand by, and if I need to rejoin, I just ask that the administrator text me.
Sounds good. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay,
President Priner, Board of Managers, next on the agenda is consideration of the Bald Eagle Lake Iron Enhanced Sand Filter Project. Bid results and the notice of award. I know Kyle Axtell, project manager, is on the system here to speak to this. I believe there is a adjustment that he would like to see in the resolution document after consulting with the district's council. Are you there, Kyle?
I am here. This is Kyle Axtell, project manager. Thank you, Nick. All right, President Priner, Board of Managers. We have opened bids for this project back on March 5th. 6 bids were received. We currently have a low bidder and responsive bidder with Peterson Companies with a total base bid, including alternative number 1, at $323,576.40. The district engineer and staff are recommending that we accept that bid. We have, although since the bids were opened and recommendations were made and the packet went out, we obviously have some different conditions here, potentially affecting construction this summer. Currently, we're hopeful that construction will not be delayed. So I want to outline just a couple of points for you. We have, in consultation with District Council Holtman, made some changes to the second therefore be it resolved in the resolution, which I will attempt to share on your screen here right now. Where to go? Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So what we're somewhat concerned about is, we do want to award a contract for the project. The low bid was very near the engineer's estimate, and we would like to contract with Peterson for this project. We don't have to issue a notice of award, or we don't have to accept the bid until May 4th. Is the 60-day deadline within the project specifications. We'd like to just do this at this time. However, we will likely delay actually issuing a notice of award at least for a few weeks, maybe until late April, so that we have a little more certainty of what to expect for the construction season this summer. See how this virus plays out in the community. Also want to talk to Peterson Companies and see where they are at with this situation as well. So I will be doing that after the board meeting. But that gives us some time and flexibility that while we do want to lock in the bid, if there is some reason between now and May 4th, essentially, that the project should need to be delayed, construction delayed, or canceled outright. We have time to assess the situation and make those decisions. If it involves a delay of construction, maybe until 2021, then we've got some time to negotiate that and work with Peterson on that, on a extension of the contract timeline. Our grant for the project extends through the 2021 calendar year. And I think even if we ended up with a delay to that year or later, I'd be very hopeful that Bowser would be in a position to extend grant deadlines given the current circumstance. But for now, we are asking and recommending that the board accept the Pearson Company's bid, including bid alternative 1. And we've modified the language there in that second part of the resolution just to, it's really a subtle, but it gives us a little more flexibility to delay transmitting the notice of award to Peterson upon further discussion. So, and upon advice of council and the district engineer. The resolution also would authorize the administrator to approve contingent or change orders up to 15% of the contract price, which has been pretty standard recommendation by the engineer. With that, I'm open to any other questions you have. Again, bids were good. We had 3 very competitive bids within a few $1,000s of each other at kind of straddling the engineer's estimate. So we're very happy with the bids we got, and we are hopeful that we'll be able to move forward this year.
Nick?
President Preiner, I'd ask Kyle, if you would, please, could you read your adjustment? In other words, on page 95 of the packet, you're looking under therefore, item number 2, you're showing us revised language that those on the call cannot see. Could you read that, please?
Yes, thank you, Nick. Sorry about that. So yeah, the second portion would then read, on advice of the district engineer and district council, the district administrator is authorized to sign and transmit the notice of award affecting acceptance of the bid and sign the construction agreement and issue the notice to proceed when prerequisites for issuance have been met by the contractor. And then on to number 3. So it's a very subtle kind of rearrangement of the language there that effectively will, we would issue the notice of award on advice of the district engineer and district council, which therefore, could be delayed a little bit. So
Any questions on the change?
Madam President, Waller, does that sentence you read, Kyle, replace the entire number 2, or is it an addition?
Madam President, Manager Waller, it is a full replacement of that second paragraph.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll need a motion. Resolution 2020-9. Hello, everybody.
President Preiner, I would move that the contract for the Bald Eagle Lake Iron Enhanced Sand Filter Project, including bids alternative number 1, is awarded to Peterson Companies, Inc. for the contract price of $323,576.40, and the district council, the district administrator is authorized to sign and transmit the notice of award affecting acceptance of the bid and sign the construction agreement and issue the notice to proceed when prerequisites for the issuance have been met by the contractor. And the district administrator is authorized to sign change orders increasing the contract price in an aggregate net amount not exceeding 15% of the contract price.
Second.
Manager, second.
We have a second for Manager Waller, so we have Manager Wynant first and Manager Waller second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Waller?
Yes.
Wynant?
Yes.
Bradley?
Yes.
Wakeman?
Yes.
And Preiner, yes. Motion passes. Okay, with that, we're moving on to the Citizen Advisory Committee member appointments, page 96.
President Preiner, I believe Beth Reno, our communications and outreach coordinator, is present on the line. I'll
Yes,
note
I
that
am.
it's your annual appointment of members.
Okay,
Maybe Beth, if
Beth,
you
can you? chime in?
Absolutely, I can speak to this a little bit. The Board of Managers is required to maintain an advisory committee. By statute, you need to have at least 5 members. The board has indicated that they would like to have a CAC with 12 members, a maximum of 12 members. We have consistently been between 10 and 12 members on our CAC in recent history. At the workshop, the board asked staff to create a slate of members. That includes the names of the names that you see in the memo there. It does include many of our current CAC members, and as directed by the board at the last workshop, Wayne LeBlanc's name is not included in this slate. It is my understanding that he has been given information on the status of his reappointment or not being reappointed. Staff has started to communicate with some of our partners on filling those positions. However, we wanted to wait to do a full court press in a couple of our communities until it was public that those were the vacancies that we had. Any questions?
Any questions for Beth? If not, I'll entertain a motion on page 98.
Madam President, this is Bradley. I move to approve the 9 individuals proposed on the site plate for membership on the Citizen Advisory Committee for 2020 and direct staff to compose a letter of gratitude for service to Wayne LeBlanc to be signed by the board president.
This is Manager Wynett. I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Nick?
Madam President, would the motion be repeated, please?
Certainly. It's on page 98, John, on the proposed motion.
All right, well then it's open for discussion, Madam President.
Yes, we are.
As I received a letter yesterday from Mr. LeBlanc, and one of the things it asked for was I believe he wants to be reappointed. And I know that there's an opening there on Anoka. We'd be less of one. And I don't, although I wasn't at the discussion period for the workshop, after reading all of this items over and over, I think that I don't see any reason for removing him. It's a volunteer position. Years ago, I remember serving on this board, 20 years ago now, I suppose. And the board of managers began a email exchange back and forth about the activities I was doing and talking to county commissioners in order to get the drainage system cleaned. And they emailed back and forth each other. In fact, it got down to Andy Cardinal was the only one that didn't have email. When it finally got to Jim LaRue, that was kind of the end of it. They had really conducted a meeting and the discussion about having me removed for talking to people, particularly county commissioners, about having the drainage system fixed. So I don't really think that Mr. LeBlanc's actions have been that problematic that he'd be removed from a volunteer position, which we can't fill enough people on the board already. The second comment I make about it is in general, I think that CAC committee has become focused on water quality issues. I would note that 4 of the members on there from the public that are not from the saltwater conservation districts like Washington County or Ramsey or Anoka, were required to have a member on there or a member of the board. 4 of those members are from Lake Owners Association. And so we have a function really on the MS4 responsibilities of the cities for their lake quality rather than the district's function, which is primarily to make sure that the logistics of the stormwater conveyance system is in working order. And years ago when I was on that board, we had more of a function on making sure that the drainage systems worked. And I think that board, CAC, has gotten away from taking a look at the conveyance system, focusing on that conveyance system, and has lost its advocacy for the maintenance of our conveyance system. And not that I think that's an important item here that's missing as we appoint the members again. I don't see any reason to not reappoint Mr. LeBlanc, even though he's part of the water quality issues. But I do think it's important that the CAC become, again, primarily interested, pardon me, in the logistical of our stormwater conveyance systems. That's rate control, volume control, and the maintenance of that. And I think that's a big problem there. Is that there's a lot of competition on there about whose lakes are doing what and what to do. And so that's my comment at this time. I would not support this resolution as it's written.
Okay.
Madam
May-
President, Madam
May I
President,
add a comment?
Madam President, this is,
Let's hold on. Hold Beth 1 second. Let's go to Marcy.
Sure, sorry.
Madam President and other board members, the president and I did speak to Mr. LeBlanc, and he knows where we stand as a result of the work done. At this point, the motion is to reappoint the 9 members, and I also understand. So that's one thing. Is those CAC members are very important.
Can't hear you, Marcy.
Yes.
Can't hear you good.
Oh, shoot. Okay, let's try this.
That's better.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the motion is for the reappointment of the 9 members listed. Secondly, the president and I did speak to Wayne LeBlanc, and we had an understanding with Wayne. So I would leave that. Thirdly, I understand that the advisory committee meeting is canceled for the month of April based on the virus. So there is a lot going on that probably, if we decide to continue this discussion, John, we should. So for the time being, the motion in front of us is reappointment of those 9 members. And I would suggest the other that make that motion and then leave the discussion and the duties of the CAC for.
I'm still having a very hard time here. RC.
Yes, Madam President, it was very difficult. The volume is low and it's broken and distorted.
Okay, let's hold on a minute and give her a chance to regroup. Meanwhile, Beth, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to address some of Manager Waller's concerns. One is based on legal counsel regarding the priorities of the CAC. We do have some kind of bookends on what we can and can't control over their interests. And mostly it is as it relates to appointments, is the way I understand it. And Administrator Tomczyk, please correct me if I am kind of drifting from your understanding as well. So if you want to see a focus on the drainage being a priority, then we've probably got one of 2 avenues. One, it would be to specifically request that they evaluate or provide guidance or advise on a specific drainage topic or drainage topics in general. The other would be to recruit members that have that agenda going in. And that might be more challenging just because of some of the challenges we have in getting members on occasion. We're looking for people who have a passion about the watershed district or water issue. So, we can try to look through that as we kind of select members. However, as it relates to their interest in the drainage system, actually at our last meeting, Tom Schmidt came and gave quite a lengthy presentation about the public drainage system that all of the members were extremely interested in. They had identified it as a priority, and so we made sure to provide that information and that programming for them. They gave the public drainage system very thoughtful consideration when reviewing the watershed management plan. And I would say that it's I would say that in our ongoing conversations as a CAC, that when they are discussing water quality versus flood control issues, I think it is evident to me that there is a very strong passion for flood control issues and drainage among the members as well. So.
Okay, thank you, Beth.
Madam President, pardon me, Beth, I missed who you said gave the presentation. Who was that? Gave a presentation about the drainage?
Oh, it was Tom.
Tom Schmidt.
And
Tom.
Ashley.
Okay.
And Ashley was there.
Thank you. I didn't quite get that.
Sure.
Sorry, that helps. Thank you.
All right. Marcy, try it again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Not very good. Are you centered on your?
Oh, shoot. I have every,
Marcy, do you have a cell phone?
Pardon?
Do you have a cell phone that you could call in?
Yes, I can do that. Okay.
Yep, so Marcy, when you call in, mute on your computer screen, there's a little microphone if you hover. Make sure your microphone has a slash through it so that your computer screen is muted, and then we'll be able to hear the audio through the conference line, and we can still see your picture.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have any other comments while we're waiting for Marcy?
Yeah, Madam President.
Go ahead.
Madam President, let's Steve go.
Go ahead, Steve. Did you have a comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Something all of a sudden things started slowing down on the screen. I don't know what's going on here, but I think Beth covered most of what I was going to say. And one thing, I think the Citizens Committee, my understanding is they're supposed to look at the business at hand that the watershed has and try to inform us. So I think if we want them focusing more on drainage, I think we should be telling them how to focus on, what we need from them, what we'd like to know. So that part, and then the other thing is, I would like to say that I would thank Wayne LeBlanc for all of his service that he has had, but every correspondence that I have read from him since this started has stated very firmly that he was resigning in July in protest. And I think it would be very foolish to put it at this point when he was planning on resigning in July anyways. So that's all I had to say.
President Preiner, to that point,
Go ahead.
That Manager Wakeman had shared, Manager Wagaman's point about direction or asking questions of the CAC on subject matter would seem to be appropriate. And in this case, to Wayne's passion, and not to go too deep on his convictions, but he has a concern with some dirty snow. I'm sure you've seen the materials and read them at depth. That matter, we asked we asked Mr. LeBlanc to bring to the CAC to function as a whole unit versus an individual in their statements. That would be through the chair of that committee and or staff would be a good avenue for those types of interests. Further, I think, just for the record, it's good that a number of issues that Mr. LeBlanc did bring up to the CAC, his concern with the accuracy of minutes and those types of things were considered by the members present at the CAC. I know during those we do have a Rice Creek Board Manager Liaison present as well in the CAC independently as a committee, took action as they saw fit on his proposals. Beyond that, in the final item, just the letter of thanks that's referenced back to the agenda item. I have seen that document. It does align with what you're discussing here. Teresa did include the signature of the administrator, which I guess is commonplace along with the board president. That's all I had to share.
Manager
Mr. Bradley, at our last workshop, we're all getting broken up here. At our last workshop, the 3 managers who had been at why? Okay. Can you still hear me?
Hang on.
Can you hear me?
You moved, yeah.
Well,
Come on. Go ahead.
At our last workshop, 3 managers who had been present at CAC meetings indicated that all 3 supported his non-reappointment because he was being disruptive to the CAC efforts to do our business. On that basis, I supported those 3 members, and unless those 3 members change their vote, I will continue to support them.
Okay, and I would just like to say I was at the last CAC meeting, and I found Mr. LeBlanc to be very disrespectful to the staff as well as the board that was sitting, and he was really disruptive. And I think that with him saying that he was going to retire anyway, I came to the conclusion that there's no sense in appointing somebody now who's going to retire in a couple months. So that's where my decision lied, and I'll let Marcy speak if Marcy, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi, hello.
Yep.
Hello, I'd like to speak to.
Hang on, wait, we have Marcy on the line here. We have to go one at a time on these.
Just to say again, this.
Oh, boy.
Hey, Marcy, I was gonna say, make sure that the computer screen, or actually, I think I can mute you as well. Let's see.
Hold on 1 second.
I should be muted. Well, I'll move to the other room.
You should be okay now.
The motion we have before us is to reappoint the 9 listed CAC members. That's what the motion is, and it was seconded. In light of this video conference and John not having been to our workshop, I would suggest that we move ahead with this motion and that we can further discuss the role of the CAC and the function of the CAC at a later time. I also understand that the April meeting has been canceled for the CAC, and so I would like to vote on this motion and lay the rest of this discussion on the table. I would like to speak once.
Hold on, Mr. LeBlanc. We're in the middle of a motion here. What we can do is finalize the motion and bring it up to reconsider if we get the votes next time. And by then, if there's anything different, we certainly could consider it. So I think the proper order would be and Louis can correct me if I'm wrong, would be to act on the motion. And then we can go back to open mic if Mr. LeBlanc would like to speak.
I want to make it very clear. I do not intend to resign. I do not intend to resign.
Okay, that's your statement, and we have papers for last month that said you wanted to. So that was our decision. So I think what we're gonna do, and that was your comments, we won't go back to open mic. We'll have to go ahead and vote, and if we want to reconsider, we can bring it back. So with that, we're gonna go to Waller.
Madam President, I vote no because I don't agree with the portion of it. It says to direct the staff to compose a letter of gratitude to Wayne LeBlanc to sign by the president, board president.
Okay, because I think we should. He has done tremendous work. It's just the situation we're in today.
I don't disagree with you, Madam President, that he's done terrific work. I just don't think that you should compose a letter to tell him that he's not being reappointed. That's what this does. This motion does not reappoint him.
Right. Okay, Wynant.
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Wageman.
Yes.
And regretfully, I'll have to say yes too, and that would give us a chance. We can all reconsider if we want to. That'll give us a little bit of time in between. So with that, we're going to move on. The motion has passed.
President Pronner, the next item on your agenda is the check registered for March 25th of 2020 in the amount of $211,602.27. Steve, I gave you a little bit of wiggle room there.
Yeah, give me an intro. This is Manager Wagaman. Madam President, I move to consider the check register dated March 25th, 2020 in the amount of $211,602.27 prepared by Red Path and Company.
Madam President, what does it mean to consider? Does it mean approve?
That means just well, we're considering it, but I assume that the motion is there to pass it. Why would you like different wording?
I apologize. Maybe proper language be moved to approve the check register.
In which case, I second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the check register for March 25th, 2020. Any further discussion? Waller?
Yes.
Bradley?
Yes.
Wageman?
Yes.
Wynant?
Yes.
And Kreiner, yes. Motion passed. Items for discussion. Did everybody read their staff reports, and is there any comments or questions? None? Okay.
Hey, staff, Nick, how's everybody doing?
President Pronner, Manager Wynant, managers, staff is doing quite well, all things considered. Ashley, our IT person, has worked diligently to establish remote working opportunities for all staff. That can be a bit cumbersome in regards to our efficiency. However, all staff do have the ability to work remotely. Phones are typically forwarded to cell phones so that people can immediately retrieve those calls. Although some voicemail obviously is still in play, but I do not see what I'll say as a huge hindrance on staff operations for the district. Our site visits, we are developing some protocol. We've certainly discussed them amongst the various staff that goes to site internally, basically to employ those social distancing measures when they do visit a site. If the activity requires more than one individual, they do stay apart as much as possible, whether that be separate vehicles or what have you, and alternative means when they do get to a site to accomplish the work.
Any other questions of staff? Everybody looked at our April calendar. It looks like we're going to be teleconferencing for a while, unless we.
So, Madam President?
Yes.
Waller, I heard the rumor that just recently that the CAC meeting for April is canceled, and so that on the calendar, I believe I was liaison. Is that correct?
It is on our agenda that it's canceled.
All right.
So are we going to just move the liaison to the next meeting? Or are we going to rotate out, or how do we want to do that? Why don't we just move it up then? John, you would do the next one, and then we'll follow suit. Everybody good?
Yep, that President Pronner, Board of Managers, that seems reasonable. We'll just, in that the advisory committee meeting was canceled. We'll bring the liaison to the next meeting. We'll have an announcement. Certainly that will include teleconferencing or video opportunity for that group to engage on its business.
Okay, manager updates. Let's go with Manager Waller first.
I'm in isolation, I guess you call it. Whatever it is, this seclusion. I just have a question, quick, Madam President, for Administrator Nick. Are you expecting the next meeting would be sometime in May, or the regular meeting May, or that's the estimate at the moment, the guesstimate?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next person, Manager Wyman.
We too are in seclusion here, and glad that we can have this meeting on a teleconference.
Thank you. Manager
Thank
Bradley.
you.
Nothing to report here.
Manager Wageman.
Nothing here either. Just hope everybody's doing well.
The only thing I would like to say is I want to really thank former manager Barb Hockey. She brought us to this moment and we were ready for it. So that's very wonderful. And I'd like to thank Ashley for getting us all set up, because I think all in all, I think it all went really well. If anybody has any suggestions for the next one, if there's something wrong, let's talk about it before the next meetings. Nick?
Yes. President Preiner, if I could just add, I should have communicated. The one thing that maybe is a challenge for the district is mail and some of the documents to be recorded by our permittees. As you may know, recording with the counties does require original signature, and some of our documents do require the administrator's signature. As an alternative, I'm looking to print those documents and put them in the mail to the parties that are requesting them, and then they can follow through from that point. So I'll be taking a stack of envelopes and buying some stamps to do that, and I just wanted to make.
Is that something we should do, return receipt or something, so we know that they received it?
We could, I suppose.
I think just for the process, I think I would. It'll be a little more expensive, but that way we know if they received it, there's nothing in the mail that would get disrupted.
Madam President, I agree with your request. I think that's an excellent idea.
Thank you, John.
And beyond that, President Preiner, we do have a number of sanitizers, to disinfect the office as best we can, and wipe down the door handles and all that sort of thing as well. So the limited staff that we have here, we are trying to be as protective as possible.
Okay.
Madam President, I have one last question about the calendar. Is this meeting on the 29th canceled also?
Oh, yes, it was. The one on our.
Yeah.
Yep. That was canceled, John.
Yeah, thank you.
27th?
The one that we had, what was
Well,
the date?
Friday, it's supposed to be one Friday here
Yeah.
for,
Yes.
and over at the library at Shoreview, and so that's canceled. Thank you.
Yeah, the library is closed also.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay, well, with that, we need a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I move to adjourn. Waller.
Bradley, second.
Bradley, second. Okay, we'll go with roll call. Waller.
Yeah.
Wyman.
Yeah.
Bradley.
Yes.
Wageman.
Yes.
And Preiner. Yes, motion. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Stay safe.
Thank you. Good to see everybody.
Not so good. Well, no, they can work on their stuff before the next meeting. Is that all shut on?